Hi everyone, Curtis here from Goth Rider Creations, and in today's episode we're going to finish off the extension. Stay tuned. So here we go with the final bits. What we're doing now is just lining the ceiling. This is basically the same kind of roofing material that you get under your slates in your house. It is a waterproof membrane, which does help a little bit with condensation in the winter, and mostly because it's black and it stops all the reflections coming off the ceiling. So just literally pin it all in place. I use an upholstery stapler with 6mm staples, and yeah, you just kind of tension it so it's nice and taut. Whack in 4 tons of staples. It's not brain surgery. I am overlapping quite a bit onto the walls as well, because I had a lot of trouble previously with paneling and getting the join with the ceiling right. So I figured this time if I drop it down an extra couple of centimeters, then that just means it will take up any slack from the panels. And then we're on to the side panels, and these are literally just the leftover sheets of OSB that I was going to use for the floor and the ceiling. So just put in the full sheets because they're exactly the right size, and then I just cut up all of the scraps and the bits and pieces just to panel in the tops. So that's all done. It's not pretty, but once it's painted it'll be fine. And there is some temporary panelling on the end wall with some transport crates from work, so thank you Fabio for those. And now we're on to the feature wall. Now, I wanted to do something a little bit more interesting than just a painted wall, and being the hoarder that I am, I had 4 tons of random scraps of timber and pallet wood and all kinds of stuff. So I ferreted through the garden, found every bit that was lying around, and then I just did a rough approximation of the thicknesses of all the timber and put them in separate piles. So then I could at least make sure that each section was roughly the right thickness. And yeah, it's not exactly brain surgery. You just cut it to size, spirit level, construction adhesive, and some screws. It's not complicated in the slightest. If you notice, I am actually putting a 10mm spacer in between each section, because at a later date I might look and see about doing some kind of LEDs or strip lights or something. Being a YouTuber these days, if you don't have an LED backlight, you're not a YouTuber, and I don't get it, but it seems to be the thing. So I've at least given myself that option, that in the future, if I want to do something slightly funky with this thing, at least I've got that as an option. And now we're on to the outside. So with the panels being flat, there is quite a few gaps, and I wanted to make sure that everything was going to be as watertight as possible. So here I am using some water-based framing sealant, which is basically cork, but it's designed for exterior uses. So you do like you would with any bit of caulking job, really. Just spooge it all into the holes. Wipe it off with your finger. One little pro tip that I'm doing here: get yourself a bucket and a sponge and just wipe off the excess. There's nothing worse in this heat than trying to get rid of any excess and then it's all stuck to the outside, and then when you paint it, it looks all ridgy and awful and crap. So just make sure you wipe everything off. And then once that's done, then it's time for the paint. Now, obviously I did the epoxy floor paint on the outside, which will be absolutely fine for protecting it, but my gorgeous wife did make a stipulation that if I was going to make the extension slightly different from the main paneling, obviously the featherboard, then I needed to at least make sure I painted the bloody thing so it all looked uniform. So here I am. Didn't take long. I think it was about an hour, really. Obviously with the featherboard you can't really roll it, so you've got to make the effort with a paintbrush, but being a ex-decorator, it's kind of not really a chore for me. And then once we've brushed in all the feather boards, then just on with the roller. Another little tip for anyone, rather than having to mess around with roller trays and whatever else, if you just use one of these small mohair rollers, and then you can just dip it straight in the pot of paint, let it drip a little bit, and then just whack it straight on. You get a bit more paint on there than you would with a roller tray, but as long as you even it out enough, it's really not that complicated. And that is me doing the final touches. And now we're on to the final job, which is the workbench. So this is all of the leftover stuff I've got around the house. It is 3 lengths of CL16 timber. For the American friends, that's basically the standard framing timber that we use in the UK for stud walls and things like that. So I had 3 lengths left over from what I thought I was going to use for roof supports, but I didn't need them. So I've just got my cut list there, and we're just bringing them all down to size. I know a lot of people go on about torsion boxes are the only way to go, and that, you need to make a giant butcher block top using 20 lengths of timber. If that's what you want to do, great. Me personally, I think it's a bit overkill. Once it's secured, it's not going to be an issue. And for the top, a lot of people might hate me here, this is the leftover meter and a half of melanine kitchen countertop from my kitchen renovation a year ago. It's sturdy, it's thick, it's straight, it will be absolutely fine for my purposes. So then we've just got the rather janky way of putting this together. If I had some sawhorses, that would probably make life a lot easier, but it's not the end of the world, it just takes a bit more time. So yeah, just make sure everything's straight. Make sure you pre-drill the holes before you whack in the screws. It's not complicated, it's just basic framing. So once we've got the main legs done, then it's just a case of putting in all of the little side supports. Now you can see here this is not a massive frame, it's probably about a foot across, but with the countertop I wanted to make sure I left plenty of overhang all the way around. That way, I can use clamps, I can put in maybe a vise at some point. So I just wanted to make sure that it was a substantial enough frame but not too chunky. And yeah, it's just a case of getting all these supports in. You can see me using a little cheater piece of wood there to make sure that everything's in the right line. I find it a lot easier than having to mess around with rulers all the time, because there's always a chance you're going to forget your measurements and then make one side 1 centimetre too long, and it just becomes a pain in the arse. So that's nice and simple. And then just put the frame on top of the melamine. Make sure it's all nice and square and that you've got all the gaps around the edges. And then just screw the thing together.
So, finally, we're sorted. One sec. Now we're sorted. So, everything's done. Walls are painted, back wall's done, workbench is finished. We are sorted. So, yeah, obviously there's still plenty to do. Got to get all my tools mounted on the wall. Need to sort out some storage underneath. I've still got that giant pile of crap to sort out, but we're there. So finally. This has been some very long and very hot weekends, but yes. So the next episode will be me going to the Birmingham Guitar Show, and then after that I can actually start on my Jurg's cut build, because I've been waiting. A lot of the footage was me making the guitar blank, and to be honest, I did start that about 2.5 years ago, but I'm only now just starting to finish it. So that will be my first episode showing you how I made that. And then I just need to pull my finger out and get this thing built, because yeah, I've got to get it done by November, so a little bit of a time crunch. But now I've actually got a space, I can get on with this kind of stuff. And then once I've sorted out this back area, I can actually have places for all my tools, and I can get a bit more efficient. I mean, it's never going to be as pretty as, you know, Paul at My House Studios, but you work with what you got, you know. So I'm really happy with how it's turned out. You know, all the recycled materials. This workbench has essentially cost me nothing. So all in all, I couldn't be happier. So now I can get sorted and actually start building guitars again, which would be a nice change of pace. You know, what can I say? So anyway, thank you so much for joining me as always. If you would like to subscribe to get involved in a bit more of this kind of stuff, you're more than welcome. From what I can see in my analytics, there's only about 10% of people who watch this channel who actually subscribe, which I think is a little bit rude, people, because, you know, it's one click. It's just down there, one click. It won't hurt you. So, you know, but anyway, I'll stop waffling at you, and I will see you all on the next one. Take care.